have to lead this question up. Do you believe that these at least 13 attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria, do you believe that Iran is responsible for these? Were these all conducted by Iranian-backed proxies?
Well, I think we've been pretty clear on this, and my colleagues at the White House yesterday talked about this as well. We know that the groups conducting these attacks are supported by the IRGC and the Iranian regime. What we are seeing is the prospect for more significant escalation against U.S. forces and personnel across the region in the very near term, coming from Iranian proxy forces and ultimately from Iran. So by virtue of our announcement over the weekend, we are preparing for this escalation both in terms of defending our forces and responding decisively. And I just want to emphasize the point that I made earlier, which is that we always reserve the right to defend ourselves, and we will never hesitate to take action when needed to protect our forces and our interests overseas.
At this point, can you confirm which Iranian-backed militias are responsible for these attacks?
Again, I'm not going to go into specifics here from the podium other than to say that we know that these groups are Iranian proxy groups.
And lastly, can we get a breakdown of the injuries that have occurred based on these attacks? And have there been any TBIs that have occurred as a result of these attacks as well?
Yeah, again, we'll come back to you on that. Thank you. Jeff.
When were the most recent attacks? You mentioned 10 in Iraq, 3 in Syria. When were the most recent of these attacks? And separately, can you confirm that the Carney used its 5-inch gun to shoot down some of the drones launched by the Houthis?
Yeah, so in terms of the Carney, Jeff, I'm just not going to go into specifics on its defensive systems. And as far as the attacks go, I can confirm, and I think I talked about this yesterday. We had the attempted attack at Antanf garrison in Syria. No casualties or damage to infrastructure. I am aware that there are data miner alerts out there talking about another potential attack today, so we're looking into that. I just don't have any information to provide. But again, it is our intent to be able to confirm the details of these attacks since they've begun and make that available to the press and to the public. So that two reasons. One, you asked the question, and two, we're very sensitive to the fact that there's a lot of misinformation out there right now about whether attacks have occurred or not. And so we'd like to have something in the public record so that we can have a basis for truth as we go forward on this. Thank you. Chris, and then I'll come back to you, Joe.
Okay. Thanks, Pat. A couple questions. Just to follow up on the attacks. Do you have, or did any of the attacks in Syria come from inside Iraq?
Chris, right now I just don't have that level of detail to provide.
Okay, and then second question, you've highlighted there's a very near-term threat, but it will take some time for these additional forces, the carrier, to arrive. So what steps are you taking right now in near-term deterrence to prevent attacks?
Yeah, so to be clear, we have significant capabilities in the theater right now. Right, I mean, you've got the Ford that's in the Eastern Mediterranean. You've got an expanded number of fighter aircraft throughout the region, in addition to the naval assets that are already in the Central Command AOR. So there should be no confusion whether or not we have the ability to respond to any potential threats right now. The announcement over the weekend, as it highlighted, is intended to enhance those capabilities and sustain those capabilities for as long as we may need in order to continue to both deter and protect our troops.
And one final quick question. Do you have an update on the number of C-17 flights that have gone into Israel?
I do not. I can tell you that we are conducting regular near-daily missions to provide them with support, but I can take that question and we'll see what we're able to provide on that. Let me go to Joe, and then I need to come back to the phone here.